Hi, my name is Roxana. I'm from 23rd Wembley, and today we want to show you how to make something as creative and pretty as this using just 3 Scouts knots. That's right, 3 Scouts knots. So for today's activity you will need a pair of scissors, something like a piece of wood. I've got driftwood, and a type of a wool or t-shirt yarn or rope. So I would avoid something as thin as this because it's just not going to come out clear and it will knot very easily. I'm going to be using this one today because that's the colour I prefer. It's t-shirt yarn. This is a nice rope. You can use this t-shirt yarn, and then if you want to use wool, you can use something that's as thick as this so the pattern will come out. So the next thing you want to do is you want to cut your cord or rope or whatever you're going to be using, and you want to know how long you want your work to be. So I've got mine very long, but essentially how you measure it is you measure it 4 times the length. So for example, if you wanted your work to end up to be in this size, you want to measure your rope 4 times, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then double it. So let's do that together. So here's my rope. I'm going to cut another strand here. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's 4. That's the end of 4, and then I'm going to double it. So you pull that across, across, across. Mine's a bit knotted. And then you want to cut it where it doubles up. Okay, so you want to cut it at that end. So you want to do that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 times. So we're going to have 8 of those. So 8 times you have to do that up front. So we want to now put our ropes on top of our driftwood. I've kind of just put this on the wall with some sticky tape and plasticine just to hold it up, and it's nice and clear for you guys. So how to put these ropes on here? We use the lark knot, and we know that lark knot is a great knot that we use in scouting to tie a rope to a pole or a ring. So how to do this? Grab the 2 ends of the one rope that you've just cut, and then go to the middle part of it where it doubles over, which is this part, that ring part, and then it's a typical lark knot, right? So you weave it from the front onto the driftwood like that, and then you create this circle, and then you pull these 2 through it. So from the front to the back, let's weave this through. You can see mine are quite long. And then you create this particular knot over here. And you want to do that 8 times. Okay, we are now ready to do our patterns with the next knot. So we're going to be using the reef knot, or it's called a square knot in macrame, but essentially we're going to be using that to create our pattern, which will be a V going downwards with reef knots in the middle, and then we're going to bring the outer ones to create nice clean lines going inwards as well. So that's going to be our first set of the pattern. So to start our pattern, we're going to move the end ones on the side, like so. To start the reef knot, we are going to pull these 2 together. So these are going to create one, these are going to create another, and these are going to create the 3rd reef knot on the first kind of row that we're going to be doing here. All right, so let's just divide these up and let's have a look at what they look like. All right, these 2 middle ones, they are going to be called the dormant rows. Okay, so we're not going to be doing anything with them. We're just going to be wrapping around the knot around these 2. Okay, so these 2 in the middle, they're just going to be happily sitting there being wrapped around. These 2 on the outside, they're going to be our active ones. So these are the ones that are going to create the knot. So let's start. I generally start with the left hand one, but you can start in the right hand side. It doesn't make much of a difference as long as you're consistent as you go along. So create a 4. I generally call it a 4 because it looks like a 4 to me. So that loop over the 2 dormant ones, but under the other active one. So we can see what we've done here. Create a loop over the dormant ones, under the last active one. So this becomes on the top, and then this last active one, you can see I'm going to pull it through this hole. So I'm going to go through here, pull this one through, all the way through, all the way through, all the way through, and that's your half reef knot there. Okay, you can see the two in the middle just sitting there. The left one's moved to the right side and the right one's moved to the left side. And now we're going to go the opposite side. So we're going to create that 4 wrong way around on this side, over the 2 dormant ones, but under the active one, like that. And then we're going to pull the active one through the loop of the other side. And pull that nice and tight. Now this may not look pretty at the moment, but I can promise you it will later on. So that's your first full square knot or reef knot. Let's move on to the next two. We're going to do exactly the same. There we go. So that's your first row done. So now we want to start our next row, but we want to create a triangle. Okay, so we've got 3 reef knots here. We want 2 on our next row. And we ignored these 2 on our first one. We're going to ignore the 2 outer ones on either side for our next row. Okay, so these 4 on either side are no longer in use. All right, so that's really important that we know that, otherwise our pattern will not work. So taking the next 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, okay? The 2 middle ones are now the dormant ones, and then the 2 outer ones are the active ones, and we do the same thing again. So we do the square over the dormant 2, but under the active, and we bring this active one through that loop, and we pull it nice and tight. Okay, I know it looks a little bit messy, but it's going to come out really nice and clean. Let's do that on the other side. So the 2 dormant ones in the middle, create that 4 over the dormant ones, but under the active one, and then bring that active through this loop. Here we go. There we go, nice and tight. There we go, lovely. And now we want to do the next one so you can see how this is working. So we ignored these 2, and then our final third row, we're going to ignore the next 2. So only concentrate on the ones, the 4 in the middle. All right. So the same principle applies. 2 dormant ones, 2 active ones. And there we go. Nice and tight. Straighten these out. And there is your first set of pattern. So now we want to do our double half hitch. Okay, so double half hitch is a great knot. It's kind of used to tie a rope or around a ring. So if you're on a camp and you want to put a washing line up, double half hitch is a great one. So we bring the outer 2 back in. Be friends with the other ones. Here we go. Hopefully you'll be able to see this in a better way. And so what we want to do is create 2 nice clean lines going from the outer edge to the middle, outer edge to the middle, and then meet in the middle. We're going to do 2 of those. So key thing about this, you can either start on this side or this side, is to know which one's your out one, okay, and which one's your inside one. So this one we're not going to be doing anything with in essence. So all it's going to do is going to create the shape. So if I hold it like this, the shape is going to go downwards, but if I hold it like this, the shape is going to create backwards, because all the other rows are going to be working to create a knot over this one. Okay, so double half hitch. Let's do that. So I'm just gonna, just for ease purposes, I'm gonna wrap this one around my hand, just so I know that I do not get confused and it doesn't go into the other piece of work. So nice and secure, not going to move this at all. The only things that are going to move are all of these in order, all the way to the end. So here we go. Slightly, here we go. So you create a loop, put from the bottom to the top, go through. Mine's quite a long one, and then you don't do anything with this one, but you can see that loop be creating a knot over this strand. I should probably call them dormant and active again. So this one's going to be a dormant one. It's just going to hold all the knots. So we've just done the first hitch for that, so half a hitch. And we need to do a double one. So we use the same strand again and do that again. So this one does all the work, goes from underneath, through the loop from the top, pull your thread through and let that loop come nice and tight at the top. Okay. Now for the next one, so we now ignore this one, we go to the next piece of our string, and then we create that loop, pull it through. That's a half hitch. Keep that straight, don't do anything with that. Keep it in this diagonal position as well, and do a second one as well. 1, 2. And if you get lost as to see how many you've done, you can grab a hold of your string and you can count 1 and 2, and then the next one 1 and 2 on either side. And we stop at that point, okay? So we stop at that middle point. So this one now acts as the dormant one coming this side, all right? So we want to meet it with the other one. You can see the pattern that's been created. So I'm going to wrap this one around my wrist so I know not to get confused. And you can see mine's much longer than yours needs to be. And then we do the same thing. So we take the next one, create that loop over the dormant one, and let that loop be nice and clean on this dormant one. Okay, so the dormant one's doing nothing, it's just creating the shape. The other ones are doing all the hard work. 2, and then the next one. Here we go. Nice and tight. Create that loop. Goes from the top into the middle, pull through to the bottom. So we can now see, so I'm just going to untangle this because I'm now very clear about what we've got. We can see that these two together in the middle, and they're not knotted together, and naturally you can see the first one we did is slightly more underneath than the one that we've just finished, and we want to create a knot there as well, just to kind of close that gap. So we want to go this one over naturally and through this and create kind of a knot, just to kind of pull that together. All right, that's our first V. We want to do another one, so we start all over again, exactly what we've done here, but with the next one. So this is going to be our dormant one. This is the one that's going to be facing this way, and I'm going to wrap this one around my hand so we don't get confused and it doesn't do any of the looping. So here we go. So from the bottom over into that loop, pull it through, 1. Okay, let's do that again. Bottom into that loop, pull it through. Lovely. We do that all the way down to the bottom, and the same again on that side as well. So now I've finished my second row, and you can see how the pattern is coming out. So we've got lovely reef knots in the middle here. We've got the double half hitches going through and meeting up in the middle. You can have as many lines as you like and do some more reef knots if you like. It's completely up to you. I'll show you my end product and let's see what you have. This is what mine's ended up looking like. I've kept the bottom quite rough because I think it gives a little bit of character, but let's go through the top part and talk through it very quickly. So we started off with the reef knots over here. I just added another couple of rows here just to make it a little bit wider. And then we did double half hitches going from the outer to the middle on both sides, and then repeated that very closely next to it. And then I did another reef knot from the middle and then went upwards and then repeated that over here. And then this one is a half reef knot. So it's a nice twisty one. So if you've got a nice rope, it will come out really nice and clean. So how to do this is exactly the same as reef knot when we do the 4. And then we pull through the thread, and then we do the opposite side of the 4. We just don't do the opposite side of the 4. You just keep on repeating that one side of the 4, and it will just kind of twist around. And I did that all the way across. These two are longer than this one. And then I did the half hitch again. So this one, I started from the middle outwards instead of out into the middle. And again, series of reef knots, just a reverse of these, and then half hitches going across. So instead of pulling the rope diagonal like we did here, I just pulled it across straight like that. And as simple as that. There we go. Hope you enjoy your project.